ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday to you. Oh, welcome to the Scoreboard. Very special edition of the Scoreboard today, as I have a guest in the studio. I know, right? We get to talk to someone today. It's not just me. We're also live today. Yes, I am live in studio. No phone calls right now. As I mentioned, I have a guest. We got to give our guest some love. Let's go ahead and bring our guest in right now. Who is it other than Patrick Reynolds? Patrick, how's it going today?
How are you?
I'm doing great. I see you got a little something in front of you there.
A little bit. I see on the camera shot there. Yeah, I got me a book.
You got you a book.
I got me a book. I wrote a book.
You wrote a book.
It is sports related, hence our conversation. Yeah.
Which is why you're here today.
Yes.
So me and Patrick have been trying to plan this one for a while now. Yeah. Trying to get you on the Scoreboard to talk about the book that you wrote about Don LaJoie.
Yes.
And we figured, you know what? Now would be a good time. I'm in studio. I'm here. We're going to do it live, the live Scoreboard.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We were going to pre-record it.
Yes.
But it just so happened to work out that I was going to be here. And now we get to do it live.
We'll do it live.
With all the people listening. And we're going to talk about this book here.
We're talking about this book here. Yeah.
That book right there.
That book right there. Yeah.
Which is, tell us about your book.
Don LaJoie, On and Off the Track. Don is a short track stock car driver that I grew up watching. All race fans will tell you there was a moment, there was a track, there was a driver, something that made you fall in love with the sport. And I grew up in Connecticut, and my home track was the Danbury Race Arena, which was located also at the Danbury Fairgrounds in good old Danbury, Connecticut, Hat City. USA could call it Mooresville Race City. That was Hats.
Okay.
Danbury was Hat City. I think there was some hat factories in there, but it had a remarkable fairgrounds there, as well as Saturday night stock car racing during the summer months. And Don LaJoie was kind of, I'd call him the kingpin. He would be to Danbury. He would be, I guess, he was an all-time race win leader there, dominated the action for decades. Most track championships, most wins. He was your Richard Petty. He was your A.J. Foyt. He was your Mario Andretti. He was your Michael Jordan of basketball. He was the guy for this little short track here. And I grew up watching him, and this was, I was a little kid in the 70s when I first saw him, and he dominated the action. Now, he was not my favorite driver, actually. There's an irony to this, is that I often booed this guy.
Oh.
Because I liked another driver, and they were rivals, and it's like, well, you got to boo who was it, which we get into that in the book a little bit here. And, I've met Don and worked with him on this book, and I have nothing but total respect and admiration for the fan. You're talking, 40, 50 years ago, I was like a little kid. I didn't know any better. Thumbs down, Don LaJoie. He wins too much. But, yeah, his family wanted to do a book on his life, and Don would be we're 3 generations back from current NASCAR times. Don did the little NASCAR modified racing up and down the East Coast. He's run some super speedways before in the modified division. This was back 60s, 70s, and he probably ran his last race in the early 80s. LaJoie family said, well, let's write a book. We've always wanted to write a book on Don, the family, the racing. And there was, what they had trouble with is finding someone to write it. In the fact that anybody that covered Don and wrote about him in the media, journalists at the time, they were older, sadly had passed away. So they weren't around. So they kind of reverse engineered it and said, okay, well, who watched him race that can write and talk about this today? And they came up with me. I was a little kid at the time, but remember the time well, grew up with him. And Don, NASCAR fans will recognize the last name LaJoie. Don's son is Randy LaJoie, 2-time Busch Series champion, current maker of the Joy of Seating. He makes seats. Randy owns a seat company now. And Randy's son is Corey LaJoie, part-timer in the Cup Series, has run the Cup Series regularly for several years now. In 2025, he's a part-timer now. And the family just wanted a book about Don written. It's like, one of these days, we got to write a book, one of these days. And we started this project probably, I'm trying to think of the time, about 2021. Okay. And in the fall of 24, this book went live and was published, and you actually held the copy in your hand, and it's like 4 years worth of work. And that was a roller coaster. It wasn't just like, boom, I wrote a book. there was a whole lot to that, which we'll get into here on the Scoreboard a little. There's a drama and story in that, just getting the book published. But it is available on Amazon. Those of us, if you're watching on the WSIC News app, you see the cover of it. Don LaJoie, On and Off the Track. Actually, if you just go to Amazon and you look at my name, Patrick Reynolds, on Amazon, the book comes up, and that's where it's available. You can get a copy of it off Amazon. Yeah. I got in the WSIC studio right now, right in front of me, tapping on it. Shh. That's hardcover right there, man. That is a hardcover book right there. Actually, my copy that I have right here, Don signed to me.
That? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Don's in his 80s right now, still sharp as a tack. Great man. But we had a lovely time, a wonderful time sharing this book, getting these stories. You think about the time of short track stock car racing at the time when I was watching them. No social media, no cell phones. So some of the stuff, it's not recorded like you can track someone's life almost nowadays, like influencers are constantly posting. We tracked and hunted down. I had a list of the family gave me a list. Must have been 50 people that I made phone calls to and, put the tape recorder on, and we talked about Don and adventures and mishaps and it wasn't just race wins, but the stories and the tales along the way. You're talking hauling up and down the East Coast in pickup trucks and open trailers with stock cars. Wow. There were no these 18-wheel massive rigs. Go to a NASCAR modified race now, and half the field is towed there with an 18-wheeler. These are back in the days of pickup trucks, open trailers, and just some wonderful stories of Don's racing and winning at Danbury, racing at other tracks. He raced against some of the well-known modified racers at the time from the NASCAR divisions. Richie Evans and Jerry Cook are in the NASCAR Hall of Fame as modified racers. Don was on the track with them, as well as some of the other folks that were at the Winston Cup era. Bobby Allison is a former NASCAR modified champion. Ronnie Bouchard, Jeff Bodine all came up, winning Winston Cup era, but they came up through the modified ranks, and Don was there with the short tracks in there. So all the drivers, this guys on the we'll call them, for lack of a better term, the lower levels of the sport of racing, very talented, very interesting folks. Just because you didn't get to Winston Cup Grand National racing, it's okay. There's a whole lot of story, whole lot of love, whole lot of success to talk about, and I was thrilled to be a part of this book.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's going to be
It wasn't me alone. We'll get into it.
Oh, yeah. It's a big undertaking to do something like that.
Yeah,
so
I had no idea.
Having some help, and that's your first book.
My first book.
First and only, or?
No, I'm game for another one.
Okay.
I'm game to do another one, but I learned a lot. This was an incredible undertaking. It was big.
Well, we're going to talk more about the book, Don LaJoie, On and Off the Track, when we get back from our first break here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Patrick Reynolds here on the Scoreboard. We're talking about his book about Don LaJoie. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, the rain and storm chance still with us, but not as high as it was on Thursday. A partly cloudy sky, we're warm, back up to around 80 for our Friday afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for an isolated shower or thunderstorm heading into the afternoon and early evening hours, but don't expect there to be many. Heading into the weekend, mainly dry, but a bit cooler. Low 70s for your Saturday, low to mid 70s for Mother's Day on Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Ready to roll, race fans? Swing by Harrison's in Mooresville and register in person for your chance to choose your race. 3 winners. First place picks first. Will it be the Coca-Cola 600 with pre-race passes, the Bet MGM 300, or the North Carolina Education Lottery 200? Register now through May 15th at Harrison's, the Southeast leader in Carhartt, Ariat, and Western wear. Winners announced live on the Home Ad Show. Lake Norman Woolman is proud to sponsor the Mother's Day Commons Market at Birkdale Village with Shop Local QC. Join us Sunday, May 11th from 11 to 4 at the Plaza for live music. Free photos with Mom from 12 to 1 and over 30 amazing local vendors. Don't miss it. Pulp Juice and Smoothie Bar in Cornelius is open for business. Drop into 9623 Bailey Road in Cornelius for a healthy smoothie today. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday night with a performance by My Better Half. After the concert on Saturday, come back to the club on Sunday to celebrate with a Mother's Day brunch. Golfing, entertainment, and honoring Mom are all at the 500 Club in Statesville this weekend. Peninsula Community Foundation is holding a volunteer fair on Thursday, May 8th. Join us at Bethel Presbyterian Church in Cornelius from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. as over 20 nonprofits offer volunteer opportunities for all ages. Learn about volunteering in your community at the Volunteer Fair Thursday, May 8th at Bethel Presbyterian Church in Cornelius. From everyone here at WSIC Radio, we wish you a happy Mother's Day this Sunday. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
At Kane Center for the Arts, we believe art is for everyone. From our exciting performing arts series and gallery exhibits to robust education programs and impactful community initiatives, there's something for everyone. Visit kanearts.org.
Get ready, baseball fans. The Harbor Hippos are here to make a splash this summer. Catch the action starting May 30th at Huntersville Athletic Park. Season, group, or single tickets are now available. Head over to www.harborhippos.com to get your tickets and gear today. Don't miss out.
Joe Berg back up to bat. We're back with more of The Scoreboard presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos on WSIC. Local starts here.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to The Scoreboard. No phone calls today, but we are live in studio, joined by our special guest, Patrick Reynolds. Scoreboard is presented by Lake Norman Harbor Hippos. Like I've been saying, the season's going to begin at the end of May. Go check them out in Huntersville. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there for a few games. Maybe you shake my hand, say hi. Why not, right? I love talking to people who listen to the show. But Lake Norman Harbor Hippos down in Huntersville, appreciate them and deciding to present the Scoreboard to you. Let's go ahead and hop back into things with our guest today, Patrick Reynolds. We're talking about his book, Don LaJoie, On and Off the Track. And Patrick, you mentioned something early in the first segment, that when the LaJoie family decided that they wanted to have a book made about Don, that they had to find someone who was there to either watch or still alive that was reporting the races back then. How did they end up getting to you? Was it pure chance, or did they reach out to you because they knew you?
Neither.
Okay.
Kind of falls in between there. And what they did is they first reached to Bones Bussier, who is a well-known author in the motorsports world. Bones, I grew up reading Bones's work in local trade papers. He's from the Northeast as well, my home state of Connecticut. He now lives in Indianapolis. He's written many books. He's the author of the Bill Simpson book, Simpson Race Products. You know, Bill Simpson. He was the one that brought Nomex to the forefront and lit himself on fire as an example that this stuff works. So Bones wrote that book, and in many other books about modified folks, about other short track folks, and the LaJoie family. Your go-to for short track, this type of context and topic, Bones is your guy. Real name is Mark, but we call him Bones. Bones is your guy for this type of thing. And at the time that the family was ready to proceed forward with the book, Bones' schedule was too full. So that's where the conversation had that I alluded to before. It was like, okay, some of the folks like Charlie Mitchell was from the Norwalk Hour newspaper, Norwalk, Connecticut, but he had passed away, but he wrote a lot about Don LaJoie, about the Danbury Race Arena, the race results there. He would have been a great candidate had this happened, during Charlie's lifetime. So it was put their thinking caps on. It's like, okay, who connected with Don, who saw him and could also write and participate, make this? Well, that's where Bones came up with me. Bones and I know each other, and Bones was the guy that called me. When I saw that ID on my phone, I went, oh, hey, Bones, that's a call I take. That's not like, oh, leave a message. I'll call him back. No, that's my phone rang. Hey, Bones, what's going on? Well, he told me that Missy, we call her, LaJoy Murphy, was spearheading this, and she was ready to go. And that's where Bones said, hey, I can't do this, but could you do it? Are you interested in doing this? Absolutely. I've been wanting to write a book for years. Circumstances, I dove into the business end of the publishing world, and it's a lot to it. It wasn't just like, okay, hit your keyboards, write a book. That's only a piece of it. So we actually, I'll tell you the story is Missy asked me, is like, would you like to do this? I said, I'd love to do this. We went to, I remember the year was 2021, and the LaJoy family was actually getting together at Randy's home in Concord. One of Randy's sons had gotten married in 2020 during the pandemic. They did not have a proper wedding reception because of the pandemic. So the family gathered a year later in 21, and Casey LaJoy, who was involved in the media side of the sport, he got married. All the LaJoy family was there. I knew some of them, met many others and family friends. We all agreed, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start with this. We had a publisher set up to publish this, and the operative word there is had. Yeah. We had a publisher. We got partway through the project, chapter. Publisher decided not to publish the book. So we, as a group, said, okay, we need a new publisher. So we went and found a new publisher, and that's where my co-author, Scott Watrous, comes into play. It was now a collaboration of, we got a new publisher, but Scott, as a publisher, also writes. He goes, he'd like to write the book. I said, well, I've got a lot of work that I have already, a lot of interviews, a lot of chapters have been written. We collaborated, and the two of us worked together. His work, my work. Scott went and met with the family. I met with the family. I had lots of interviews, and I turned all my work over to Scott. Scott and I collaborated and married our ideas together. And then Missy came in at the end with her thoughts and her ideas. I shouldn't say the end. Missy was part of this. Missy LaJoy Murphy was part of this the entire time. And we all came together as a collaboration. That's why when you see, I got the book proudly on display here, the byline by all, I'll hold it up a little bit past over the lower third. The byline has all three names on it: Patrick Reynolds, Scott Watrous, and Missy LaJoy Murphy. All three of us contributed to this. So this isn't, I wrote a book, but I proudly say on my social media, I'm part of the author team. There's a whole lot of people, plus the new publishing company. We got a lot of input from the former publishing company, a lot of family members. Don is not obviously on the cover of the book, but he read everything. And we went through different factors of their lives, what to put in, what to take out. There's a lot of the work that Scott, Missy, and I wrote and contributed that did not make it into the book for various reasons. There's a lot of things that you can, Scott wrote that are there, and some things that I wrote are there, and Missy, she contributed as well. So it wound up being like a smorgasbord, all of us contributing together. It was a roller coaster ride, and it starts with that phone call, and I'm picking my laptop and my keyboard going, yeah, I'll write a book. And then you get into it, and it's like, boy, is it a whole lot more complicated than that. And I'm not even getting into photos.
Oh, gosh, I can imagine. How was it trying to collect photos from that day and age?
Fortunately, I don't think it was too bad, but fortunately, I say from my own workload, I was not part of that. Okay. I was literally the text. I literally wrote. But the family had a lot of well-documented photos. Fans, too. I'm connected with everybody on social media. And throughout the years, this was over a 4-year project to get this book from the idea of let's do the book to here. Here's a copy of it in your hand. Fortunately, the family had a lot of photos. And on social media, they put it out through that 4-year period. They posted once in a while. It was like, hey, fans, do you have photos? And Don had a tremendous fan following. This was a track, Danbury Race Arena, Saturday night. Between 7,000 and 8,000, 10,000 people on a Saturday night. I'm not exaggerating.
Weekly too,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
April through September.
Yeah.
You would have, like 5,000 people was a small crowd on a Saturday night. This was how popular this track was. You went to the races on Saturday night.
Is that track still there?
No, sadly.
Oh.
The track closed in 1981. The Danbury Fair Mall
Oh, God.
Gag me. Opened in 1986 and there is a mall on the site now.
Any remnants of the track?
No, not
None.
really. There
Wow.
is, when you go into the mall, I think there is a merry-go-round on one of the entrances that may or may not have been part of the mall, but it's to signify this was once a fairground and pay memory to it. They had very large statues there of mythical characters, like Paul Bunyan comes to mind, like a 30, 40 foot, whatever it is, statue of Paul Bunyan at the fairgrounds there. A lot of decorations like that. And one of those wound up is currently on Long Island at Riverhead Raceway.
Okay.
There's a track there still Saturday night, modified racing. You know, your modified, your late model, street stock support class. Saturday night
Local short track
Your
racing.
local short track racing. It's at Riverhead, New York, out on Long Island, which Long Island, as a tangent to this conversation, used to be very full of modified racing, with Freeport, Long Island, and Islip, Long Island having huge, or there were short tracks, but it was a modified following there on Long Island in New York. Only Riverhead remains now, but Saturday nights you can still go up there now and go to a short track modified race on a Saturday night. And one of those tall statues wound up at Riverhead Raceway, but it was all auctioned off, demoed, bulldozed. I don't know, where did all those remnants go? I don't know. It's sad, but yeah, there's a mall where this beautiful speedway and fairgrounds once stood. Then they put a mall there, and then everybody complained there's nothing to do. Well, you had a fairgrounds and a speedway.
It was there.
We had stuff to do. It was outside. It was fun. Yeah, and it was like 5,000 people was a small crowd on a Saturday night. But like when the race weekend fell like a holiday weekend, like 4th of July landed on a Saturday.
Man.
Oh my, you had 9,000-10,000 people.
I could imagine.
And this was for modified racing, sportsman, 2 divisions, 10-lap heat races, three in each division, 2 10-lap consolation races, and a 20-lap feature and a 25-lap feature.
25
wasn't this
laps.
500-mile stuff? It was like a 25-lap main event for the modified. So that's what we did.
And that's how that local short track racing is. You have those heat races, and then you have the feature, and
fast guys start in the back. We had a handicap system where like Don started like a 10-car heat race. He started 8th, 9th, 10th.
Okay.
10 laps, top 5, top 6 went to the feature, so you had to qualify. Then those guys that didn't make it ran a 10-lap consolation race. Same, top 5 or 6 go to the tail end of the feature. And then guess what? The fast guys still started in the back, and you had 25 laps to get to the front. Don won a ton of these things.
From the back.
Wow. He was a master. He was an absolute master at short track.
Incredible.
Yeah, great stories. Get the book.
Yeah,
it's all in there.
Get the book. Don
in
LaJoy
there.
on and off the track. We're going to head to the halfway point here and go to our next commercial break. Maybe we'll get a story from Patrick out of this book.
I got
before
one
we move
or two
on. But we are going to get into some things going around the sports world as well. NHL, NBA playoffs, Charlotte FC in action, baseball season's going on. A lot to talk about. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, the rain and storm chance still with us, but not as high as it was on Thursday. A partly cloudy sky, we're warm, back up to around 80 for our Friday afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for an isolated shower or thunderstorm heading into the afternoon and early evening hours, but don't expect there to be many. Heading into the weekend, mainly dry but a bit cooler. Low 70s for your Saturday, low to mid 70s for Mother's Day on Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Race fans, start your engines. Head to Harrison's in Mooresville and register to choose your race. Will you win tickets to the Coca-Cola 600 with pre-race passes, the BetMGM 300, or the NC Education Lottery 200? 3 winners, first place picks first. Register by May 15th. Winners announced live on the Home Ad Show. Head on over to Harrison's, your local leader in Carhartt, Ariat, and Western wear, and tune in every Sunday to WSIC, Lake Norman's home for NASCAR.
Opening doors to your future, literally. buying, selling, or building your portfolio? Put the team at Centralina Realty to work for you. We're in the center of North Carolina and at the center of your journey. CentralinaRealty.com.
Are you sick of running out of hot water? Whether it's in the middle of a shower or doing dishes, cold water's never fun. Say goodbye to those surprises with a Rinnai tankless water heater from GMV Energy. This energy-efficient propane-powered solution heats water instantly, so you'll never run out again. Plus, it saves money and frees up space. Propane models start at just $295 after rebates. Visit any G&B Energy location or gbenergy.com to learn more.
Is your AC ready for summer? Don't wait for a breakdown on the hottest day of the year. Call Horn Heating and Air Conditioning for a seasonal tune-up today. Welcome home to the feeling of Visit hornhvac.com.
Swing for hope at the Next Chapter Station Golf Classic on September 22nd at the 500 Club in Statesville to help bring hope and comfort to children fighting cancer. Your support helps us deliver the book Luke and the Lost Bell to 1,000 hospitals. For more information, visit nextchapterstation.org.
Are you juggling life and caregiving? Call Equity Health Primary Care. Their team of nurse practitioners and therapists deliver exceptional care in clinic, at home, or virtually. Their personalized services are designed for comfort and convenience. High-quality care anywhere. Visit equityhealthcares.com.
Special buy Randy Marion Chevrolet of Statesville and Randy Marion Chevrolet of Mooresville 2024 brand new Chevrolet Malibus. These are the LTs starting at $19,988. That's right, $19,988 brand new. Not a pre-owned car. Malibus starting at $19,988. That's right, Statesville Chevy, Mooresville Chevy. Come see us today. Pick the color, drive it home. You got it. King of price, king of deals. Randy Marion Chevrolet of Statesville, Randy Marion Mooresville.
Join the Harbor Hippos family. It's not just a game, it's a community. Join the fun this summer at Huntersville Athletic Park. From single tickets to season passes and sponsorship opportunities, we've got something for everyone. Visit harborhippos.com to get your tickets and gear today. Opening day is May 30th. Don't miss out.
The best talk all day long.
WSIC.
Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Buy now, pay later is coming to Costco. The warehouse retailer is teaming up with Affirm Holdings to offer the service, which will allow approved Costco members to select monthly payment plans for transactions. Buy now, pay later programs have helped other retailers sell more big-ticket items. Cash App is teaming up with Domino's in one of the first restaurant partnerships for Cash App Pay. Cash App officials say more than 79% of Gen Z and 85% of millennials order food through mobile apps. The company says the partnership will allow users to order and seamlessly check out when ordering from Domino's. Social media startup Fizz is suing Instacart for copyright infringement. Earlier this week, Instacart launched Fizz, a drink and snacks delivery service for parties. Fizz, the Gen Z social network app on college campuses, is suing Instacart over using the name. Fizz says it filed to trademark the name in 2021. Erica Herskowitz, Bloomberg Radio.
Who is this? This is 105.9 100.7.
WSIC. Local starts here.
Joe Berg back up to bat. We're back with more of The Scoreboard presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos on WSIC. Local starts here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway through the Scoreboard today. Happy Friday to everyone. Reminder, the Scoreboard proudly presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos down in Huntersville. Go check them out this summer. A lot of good baseball going to be played. I love it. New ballpark down in Huntersville. That's going to be a fun time. You going to be checking that out?
I
Patrick?
am. I want to go to a Hippos game.
You know, I mentioned this. I don't know if I actually made the announcement, but I will be throwing a first pitch for the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos.
I did not know that.
And it will be on June 11th, the day after my birthday.
Really?
How about that?
You'll be an old man.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I turned 27 last year.
All right.
And my mom, every year, you're almost 30, you know? No, I'm not.
Yes.
No, I am not. I still got a few more years before the 3 is in front.
I have subscribed to Lewis Hamilton's feelings on that. In this year, since he's been driving for Ferrari, he says, old man is a state of mind. Yes. I will never be an old man. My body will age through the years. I have no control over that, but I will not be an old man. That is a state of mind. I'm like, I like Lewis Hamilton's mindset. I'm going to go with that.
I like Lewis Hamilton.
Me too.
Just to begin with.
Yeah. No, I'm down with that. Yeah.
Speaking of race car drivers.
Speaking of race car drivers. Nice little segue there.
We're talking about Patrick Reynolds' book, Don LaJoie, On and Off the Track. He wrote a book about the gentleman and co-author. What was the co-author's name again?
Scott Watrous.
Scott
Watrous.
Watrous.
Yes.
Scott Watrous. So you and Scott wrote this book about Don LaJoie. And now I'm curious, what is something that you found out about Don that you weren't aware of that made its way into the book?
The inventor aspect of him. All I did was a little kid. I saw him on Saturday nights. He came out on the racetrack and he was just fast, and he made it look easy. What I didn't realize is he would every week wreck the car or win the race, no matter what. That car came apart totally during the week. In other words, he could be a feature winner Saturday night. If you stopped down at his shop on Tuesday night, that car was up on jack stands and it was torn apart. It was taken apart. Nothing was ever good enough for the man. It wasn't fast enough. Wanted to make sure, obviously, maintenance-wise, you can't have parts breaking. And this is back. Cars are bulletproof now in 2025. Race cars, you watch a NASCAR race Sunday afternoon, IndyCar race. Mechanical failures are few and far between. Back in the 70s, when I first started, you had to nurse a car to the end of a race. Even in a 25-lap feature, you still had to make sure nothing broke. And he was never satisfied with how fast the car was. He needed to get faster. So you would think the car was junk if you went down there on Tuesday night and the car was taken apart. I was like, well, are you kidding me? You just won the feature. Put a coat of wax on it, fill up the fuel, and take it back to the racetrack. Yeah. Nope, never. He had it apart, and he had some items. The family is part of a junkyard. They own a junkyard in a recycling business, still do, up in Norwalk, Connecticut. And he was one of the first guys, believe it or not, I can't remember the year, but he had a chassis dyno that in Mooresville, North Carolina, in Charlotte, these were things that were coming into NASCAR's Cup Series in the 1990s. He had a chassis dyno for his modified back in the 60s because he just built one, figured it out.
Wow.
It was off of, and I actually got to refresh my memory on this, but it came, I think, from production cars that they would, test production cars with car dealerships in General Motors, Ford, Dodge, things like that. He had the bright idea to get the rear tires. Obviously, one's bigger than not obviously, but folks that don't know, right rear tire bigger than left rear tire because it's an oval track racer hanging left-hand corners. But he had the smart enough to let's put two same-size tires on the back of this thing, put on the chassis dyno, and you can measure actually the horsepower at the rear wheels. You get an engine builder, you have horsepower at the engine. Now the engine power travels through the transmission, through the drive shaft, through the rear axles. By the time it gets to the rear wheels, there's a different horsepower rating than there is at the actual engine. So Don figured out, he's like, I'm going to get one of these from my garage, my shop. And he had a chassis dyno for a modified back decades before that ever infiltrated Charlotte, North Carolina. In the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, Don was ahead of his time.
Do you think Don gave a little nudge to Randy when he was in NASCAR? Said, "Hey, see this thing?"
Oh yeah. He still does to a degree. Corey's not a regular. He's not there every week in the Cup Series anymore.
Yes, he's part-time for part-time racing.
Yeah, part-time. But when Corey was regular every week, Grandpa would call him, and Grandpa was watching it on TV. He's watching practice, he's watching qualifying, and then sees the track, and he's, gravelly voice, he'd call up Corey, here's what you need to do. and it's like, tell the crew to do this and that, the other thing. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's still very, very much involved, watches the races every week, stays plugged in, so he still watches today, follows it. And Corey sometimes had to break his heart and say at those times, it was like, Grandpa, I love you, but after we qualified Saturday, it's an impound race.
You're not
so
allowed
it's
to touch the
right.
car.
In certain races you can, certain races you can't. But
man.
in an impound race, I was like, no, that car's got a tarp over it, and all you get to do is push it to the grid on Sunday, check the air pressure, and warm up the oil, and that's it.
Well, not
You gotta
only
go
that,
racing.
not only that, with this next generation NASCAR Cup car,
Yeah.
what can you really do to it?
Yeah,
You know,
there's
NASCAR provides everything, and it's
Right.
very strict what you can and can't change.
You can change like the settings, but like all sorts of caster camber settings, the toe. You've got the whole field with decades of experience. What are you going to come up with a 32nd or an eighth of an inch that all these other teams haven't tried already? You have so little room to work. That's one of the criticisms of the car nowadays, of the sport in general.
Yeah.
Was that it used to, you had the creativity, decades ago, of the Junior Johnsons, the Smokey Eunuchs, that could build a better mousetrap.
And you just hear the stories. If you ain't cheating, you're not trying.
You could reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Generations ago. And no, you even get the wheel from NASCAR. It's like, you can't touch a thing on these cars. It's tough.
Not
It's
like
tough.
what you could do on the old short tracks.
Yeah, there's not like the creativity aspect. I mean, when I first saw Don race, it was 1976. I have no idea how thin the rule book was probably back then, And when, tech inspection, there were rules.
They probably just make sure they don't have like jet fuel in the car.
Yeah, there's actually a fuel story.
Oh, is there? What,
in the book,
a longer fuel hose or something like that?
The fuel did not pass a test, like a sample test of what was in it.
Yeah.
A chemical in there. And Don was not cheating, but he actually got disqualified from a race because he used old fuel. He had a wrecked car. The fuel tank was full. It sat around for a while. He took the fuel out of it, used it, and then when they tested that fuel, the color test or the balls that floated or sank on it, it didn't pass whatever tech they had at the time, so he got disqualified. Big story. That's covered a lot in the book. Get your copy on Amazon.
I'm going to have
Read
to take
about
a look
that.
at this one. Don LaJoy, On and Off the Track, written by our own Patrick Reynolds, host of the Score. MC, author. What hat don't you wear now?
I can't sing.
Oh,
I'm a poor singer.
Well, like we talked about an hour ago, we got to get you to Saeed's one day.
Yeah, everybody sounds good at Saeed's.
That's something about the speakers there. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and 1 a.m, and where you've been for the last 6 hours.
Has nothing to do with what you've been consuming. I just think they have special speakers over there.
I've said I can't sing, and I've been corrected. It says, no, you can sing, you just sing poorly, like my golf game. It's like, do you golf? Yeah, I golf. I just not well. Just poorly. I said, do you have fun? I go, yeah, I have fun when I sing. Fun
I say, yeah, I can golf. I can shoot 100.
Yeah.
On the front nine.
On the front nine.
On the front nine.
I say golf and bowling. I break 100 either way. That's a good day. 100 either way.
Well, we're talking with Patrick Reynolds, host of The Scoreboard, and we're talking about his book, Don LaJoy, On and Off the Track. We're going to head to our final commercial break of the day. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to one of our regular listeners here on The Scoreboard and one of our regular callers, Lenny, who calls in. He is recovering from major surgery. We're thinking about you, Lenny. We're hoping you're doing good, and I can't wait to hear from you again and all the great insight that you have. We're going to go to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll talk about the sports world.
Time for the 7th inning stretch. We'll be back with more The Scoreboard, presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, the rain and storm chance still with us, but not as high as it was on Thursday. A partly cloudy sky. We're warm, back up to around 80 for our Friday afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for an isolated shower or thunderstorm heading into the afternoon and early evening hours, but don't expect there to be many. Heading into the weekend, mainly dry, but a bit cooler. Low 70s for your Saturday, low to mid 70s for Mother's Day on Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Ready to roll, race fans? Swing by Harrison's in Mooresville and register in person for your chance to choose your race. 3 winners. First place picks first. Will it be the Coca-Cola 600 with pre-race passes, the Bet MGM 300, or the North Carolina Education Lottery 200? Register now through May 15th at Harrison's, the Southeast leader in Carhartt area and Western wear. Winners announced live on the Home Ad Show. Lake Norman Woman is proud to sponsor the Mother's Day Commons Market at Brookdale Village with Shop Local QC. Join us Sunday, May 11th from 11 to 4 at the Plaza for live music. Free photos with Mom from 12 to 1 and over 30 amazing local vendors. Don't miss it. Pulp Juice and Smoothie Bar in Cornelius is open for business. Drop into 9623 Bailey Road in Cornelius for a healthy smoothie today. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday night with a performance by My Better Half. After the concert on Saturday, come back to the club on Sunday to celebrate with a Mother's Day brunch. Golfing, entertainment, and honoring Mom are all at the 500 Club in Statesville this weekend. Peninsula Community Foundation is holding a volunteer fair on Thursday, May 8th. Join us at Bethel Presbyterian Church in Cornelius from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. as over 20 nonprofits offer volunteer opportunities for all ages. Learn about volunteering in your community at the Volunteer Fair Thursday, May 8th at Bethel Presbyterian Church in Cornelius. From everyone here at WSIC Radio, we wish you a happy Mother's Day this Sunday. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
What's your mom's dream space to organize? Her closet? The pantry? The garage? Let Closets by Design make it happen. Call us with her wish list and save 40% off plus another 15% off this month for Mom. Mention Lake Norman Woman magazine for a free accessory. ClosetsByDesign.com.
Make a splash this summer with the Harbor Hippos. Opening day is May 30th, and it's going to be a blast. Season, group, or single tickets are now available. Join us at Huntersville Athletic Park. Get all the details at www.harborhippos.com. It's time to play ball.
Joe Berg back up to bat. We're back with more of The Scoreboard, presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos on WSIC. Local starts here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Scoreboard, presented by the Lake Norman Harbor Hippos. It is the final segment on this Friday. We are still joined by our guest today, Patrick Reynolds. Go pick up his book, Don LaJoy, On and Off the Track, available on Amazon. Can I get it at Barnes & Noble? Something like that?
No, you cannot. Not yet.
Has to be
Amazon. Amazon is the place. I was just looking at the back cover here during the break. We have a review printed in it, one from Bones Bossier, who I told you about earlier. Also, just as a note, Mike Joy.
Oh, how about that?
Thumbs up on this. He wrote about it. It's part of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
He read
Joy.
it. He read the script. The text beforehand. And manuscript. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, so Mike Joy has a review that is printed in here as well.
Nice.
We were thrilled to get Mike to be part of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
From Fox Sports, long time. He's been broadcasting 40 years, 50 years. Yeah.
We were talking about recognizable voices.
Mike Joy.
On the Home Ad show earlier.
That's one.
Mike Joy is a recognizable voice.
Yeah, and he started, much like Don, in the short tracks of the Northeast on the PA system before he moved to MRN and then to television.
Well, you could tell that he's been around by some of the tidbits that he gives during the Cup races.
Yeah, he drops a story from 1970s or something like
and
that.
And Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer in the booth like, man, you're so smart.
Yeah. He's like some of us is like, I don't know if we're smart or we've just been around a long time and just have seen a lot of stuff. Mike Joy's seen many, many laps.
Well, speaking of the NASCAR Cup Series, Mike Joy, Fox's coverage is almost concluded for this year. Very quickly. So we have Kansas coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Then we have the All-Star race, and that's it for Fox.
That's it for Fox.
Because the Coke 600 will be on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
For the first time ever, NASCAR Cup Series races will be streaming only.
Yeah.
And I believe Dale Jr. is going to be in the booth. I know that much.
Adam Alexander.
Yes, and I am still waiting for them to bring back, and my mind went blank just as I said
Steve Letarte?
No.
Oh.
ESPN.
ESPN.
ESPN play-by-play.
ESPN play-by-play. There have been a few guys. There have been a few guys.
NBC play-by-play.
Alan Bestwick?
Alan Bestwick.
Oh,
Thank
he was...
you. I am waiting for them to bring Alan Bestwick back.
He is a guy not doing play-by-play that should be doing play-by-play.
I think he's, besides Mike Joy, because I don't think anybody touches Mike Joy for NASCAR commentary and play-by-play, but Bestwick is up there.
He's fantastic.
He is great.
He's a guy like Joy that's got the experience where he's seen so much where he's like, he can call, like in 2025, he'll tell you, call the play-by-play of a race. He'll go back to a story from, 1980, whatever, 1990. If you listen to the MRN call of a one of the most historic races in NASCAR history, he was the lead MRN guy. Dale Earnhardt won the Daytona 500 in 1998. That's Alan Bestwick's voice. He was the play-by-play guy. He called that Dale Earnhardt won the Daytona 500 on the MRN.
Well, what's unfortunate about that is you never hear that version because it's always overshadowed by Mike Joy's 20 years of trying.
Right, which is a very... the fact that I just said 20 years of trying and you know exactly what you're talking about, like that 20 years of, you can almost quote that, 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt comes to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Now you can play the audio of that, and I'm like, I pretty much got it, verbatim, because we've all heard it so many times. Mike Joy, again, with a historic call in the sport.
Absolutely. Well, the NASCAR Cup Series was at Texas Motor Speedway over the weekend. Joey Logano picking up his first win as the defending NASCAR Cup Series champion. My favorite thing about NASCAR fans nowadays is if you go on social media after a race, and I watched a whole NASCAR race just for Joey Logano to win. That's the sentiment that you hear nowadays. He is not a fan favorite.
No, not a fan favorite. But that's why you run the race. That's why you have sports.
Yeah,
is to see who wins. Yeah. And it was a case with the race at Texas. The fastest car didn't always win. You've seen this many times. It was somewhat of a formula where somebody's out front, leads most of the race, but don't wind up in victory lane. That happens. That's like literally the reason why we go 500 miles, because that's the winner, not at the end of 5, not at the end of 450.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. You got it right on the head. So Joey Logano picking up his first win. The Cup Series heads to Kansas Motor Speedway for the Advent Health 400 Sunday at 3 p.m. That's going to be a 267-lap 400-mile race. Personally, I think Kansas should always be held under the lights. I don't know why we consider a day race there. It's a beautiful track under the lights. We have one of the most iconic finishes now in NASCAR history under the lights at that racetrack last year with Larson and Buescher, 1/1000th of a second. I don't know. I just think that race should be under lights. I think most NASCAR races should be under the lights, personally.
I think, well, if you take this weekend, Sunday's Mother's Day.
That's true.
It was always
that is true.
It was always a point to me, just when I was working in the sport, like we didn't mess with Mother's Day or Easter.
Yeah.
Just as a participant in the sport, because it is so demanding. It was nice that you knew you had those 2 Sundays off, and it felt right. Yeah. And now we're racing on Mother's Day. It doesn't feel right.
I saw a race one time on Mother's Day.
Rained out at Darlington.
See,
a rain out Saturday night to Mother's Day.
How'd you know that was the race I saw? Did I tell you this before?
I think you did, but I remember a Mother's Day race at Darlington because we usually don't. They stand out because we usually don't.
Yeah.
On the Home Ad Show earlier this week, I told about the Mother's Day race. The All-Star race was the Winston. And in 1986, they took it to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the weekend. And believe me, you could have had a row to yourself in the grandstands at 1986. The Winston, it was the first time it was the second year of the All-Star race. And they tried a standalone weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway, qualifying Saturday, racing on Sunday. The grandstands are very, very empty.
Kind of like nowadays.
A little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Truth hurts, doesn't it?
A little bit.
I don't know. Say it.
So Kansas this weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series. Then we go to the All-Star race.
Wilkesboro.
As we stand right now, William Byron is your points leader, followed by Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and Tyler Reddick. A reminder, it really doesn't matter all that much who's leading the points right now because of the playoffs. But we won't get into that too much.
We don't have the time.
No, we don't. NBA playoffs are going on as well. We are into the conference semifinals. The big surprise, the Boston Celtics have lost the first 2 games of their series against the New York Knicks in Boston. So the Knicks have a 2-0 series lead.
I grew up a Knicks fan, but I was looking at that series thinking, I think the Celtics are going to sweep these guys.
I wasn't going to pay. See, okay, so basketball is a little different to me than hockey and baseball and the NFL.
Yep.
Basketball, it feels like for the first 2 rounds, you can figure out who's going to be moving on. Like, we didn't have very many upsets in the first 2 rounds of the NBA play. We had way too many sweeps in the NBA. I wasn't even going to be tuning into the Knicks Celtics. I am a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the Celtics. They just dominated the league last year. They won the championship.
Done. Move on.
Now I'm going to have to tune in.
I know.
We're going back to MSG up 2-0.
Yeah.
The New York Knicks have not been in the conference finals since the year 2000.
I was going to say the 90s, but okay, 2000. All right.
2000 was the last time they were in the conference finals.
All right.
So good time to be a Knicks fan after the Rangers disappointed this year.
Yeah.
Speaking.
You going to change that front plate on your car?
No,
Okay.
ride or die. Speaking of the Rangers, let's go into hockey a little bit before we get to the end of the program here. What can you say about the hockey playoffs other than they are as good as ever? Last night, the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers going into overtime, a 5-minute major in overtime that was killed off. Didn't matter. Edmonton still scored and won. I mean, Winnipeg and Dallas is great. The first round between Dallas and Colorado, 7 games, overtime for a game 7. Coming back, scoring 2 goals with 2 minutes left in the game to tie the game. If you haven't been tuned in to the NHL playoffs, I urge you to turn them on. Carolina Hurricanes are in it. So if you're a Hurricanes fan, if you want to support the Carolina teams, they're playing the Washington Capitals. That series is tied 1 game apiece as they head back to Raleigh. Patrick, you been watching any playoffs?
A little bit, yes.
A little bit.
They are as good as you're telling us.
I don't think there is any sport that can hold a candle to what the NHL does in the playoffs.
Not hyperbole. The NHL playoffs are spectacular.
Yes.
Just tight overtime. Oh, if you want excitement, NHL playoffs, they're bringing it right now.
They
got to be there.
Absolutely. That's pretty much all the time we have today, Patrick. I appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for talking about the book, Don LaJoy, On and Off the Track. You can get it on Amazon. Support our home ad star.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Appreciate the time today. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Glad we were able to make it work and have you on here.
We'll do it again.
Oh, we have to.
We'll have another show.
We have to.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. You've been listening to The Scoreboard. Later on tonight, you got plenty of hockey, plenty of NBA action. This weekend, Charlotte FC is in action as well. And we already talked about the NASCAR Cup Series coming up on Sunday. So you have an action-packed sports weekend. Hope you enjoy it. I'll talk to you guys next week. I'll see you then.